Hello, everyone. Welcome. Probably good morning for most folks, I'm guessing, unless we have some people joining from Europe or other places abroad. We are very excited to be here with all of you today in this fantastic webinar, which has been a really great collaboration between a couple of our organizations. We will just maybe give another 30 seconds or so to let folks join, and then we'll kick things off momentarily. Also, happy Halloween to everyone. Thanks for joining on one of my favorite holidays for those that celebrate. All right, I think let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Got a little intro slide here, just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. Circular City Spotlight, 3 ways that municipalities are managing materials to achieve zero waste. We have some great panelists that we're all going to get introduced in just a minute, and this has just been such a fantastic webinar to put together, so we really hope we have some great content for all of you today. Go ahead to, this one right here. A few notes for today. We are recording this webinar. Hopefully everyone can see that and sees that little button in the corner. So we will have that available. If you have questions, we would love for you to put those in the Q&A feature, and those will get sent directly to us, the hosts, and we will have plenty of time for questions at the end. We also have a couple of polls that we're going to use, so we would love for you to participate in that, just to learn a little bit about who our audience is. And all attendees, except for, of course, the panelists, will be muted today throughout the session. However, we do welcome your voice, and we would love for you to introduce yourselves in the chat. If we're talking about something that's exciting or interesting to you, if you have any resources you want to share, we're always enthusiastic to hear from our participants as well. So please use the chat for that type of activity, and then please use the Q&A feature for any official questions that you'd like us to ask. It would be great. And for today, we've got a great lineup here. These are our panelists that we'll be hearing from, in addition to our quick intro and polls. And then, of course, we have the Q&A coming up at the end. For now, let's real quick get an introduction to our panelists that we're going to be hearing from today. Next slide. So I'll introduce myself first. My name is Celeste McMickle. I'm going to be your moderator for today. I'm the director for True Certification with the U.S. Green Building Council. USGBC, we're an international nonprofit. We do research, education, and develop and implement certification programs related to sustainability issues. Some of you might be familiar with LEED certification or have heard of it before. True is a certification that specifically deals with zero waste, which is also part of that umbrella of certification programs that we offer. And we're going to hear a lot more about it from our panelists today. I'll have each of the panelists introduce themselves before their individual piece that they're going to be speaking about. But just real quick, we have Brooke Lee with Rheaply, the Senior Sustainability Manager there. Really looking forward to hearing from her. We have Kate Walker, who is the Executive Director for the Center for Sustainable Materials Management with SUNY. And Kate and I have been working together for a number of years now. I'm really excited to hear her share all the great work that they're doing. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Jasmine Johnson, who is a project manager with Battery Park City Authority in New York City. And it's just going to be a really fantastic lineup today. So let's kick things off with our first poll. We would just love to know from the audience, what type of organization do you work for? So hopefully we can launch that poll and everyone can participate. Okay, looks like that's up. So let's see what we have here. All right, kind of an interesting mix so far. Kind of a balance, mostly somewhere between small businesses and large corporations, with nonprofits kind of coming in third here. If you fall into the something else category and you're not represented in this poll, we would, if you want to share what your role is, we would certainly be happy to hear that as well. Okay, just give it another 10 seconds or so. I see we still have some participants that are even joining, so they might be coming in last minute, but it looks like small business is the winner. Congratulations, small businesses. We need more of you, so that's great. All right. Oh, I guess I can share the results here. Everyone can see that, okay? This is our breakdown here. Pretty nice distribution, actually. So yeah, I think that's going to be, hopefully we're going to be able to talk about a lot of relevant work for all of you. Okay, maybe we can go to the next poll. Great. Zero waste confidence. So of course, we're going to be talking about circularity today and zero waste. And we have some fantastic panelists that all work in this realm. We're going to be trying to address kind of all different aspects of zero waste. But, you know, we want to kind of understand who our audience is and whether or not, you know, we should focus on more sort of targeted information or keep it a bit more general. So far, it's looking, yeah, like we've got a lot of folks that are either very confident, a little confident, pretty good in terms of understanding of zero waste principles and so forth, which is great. All right, we can probably share that. So a little confidence is the winner here. I always kind of wonder, you know, maybe sometimes we don't give ourselves enough understanding. Like I think, oh, I work in this world. I should probably be very confident. I'm like, oh, but there's so many other experts out there. So you might know more than you think. And then we have our last poll, which I think is probably the most important and relevant one for today. I know I take this very seriously. This next one. Oh, yeah. So super important. What is your favorite Halloween candy? We couldn't really get through a webinar on Halloween without, you know, addressing obviously the most important piece of Halloween for some of us. And of course, yes, please write in the chat if we did not capture your favorite Halloween candy. Just give that another minute. All right. Well, I can see what the winner is, and I'm probably not surprised because it's also my favorite. But let's go ahead and end that and share the results. I think, yeah, definitely Reese's Peanut Butter Cups is the strong winner here. I feel like we have some contentious answers in the results as well, which is always interesting. I know candy corn specifically, people have very polarized feelings about that. So, all right, well, thank you so much for participating in our polls. That was really fun, and it's great to get to know our audience a little bit more as well. Go ahead and share that, and then I think we can from here move on to our first panelist, Brooke. So, Brooke, please take it away. Please feel free to introduce yourself if you can, and then we'll be excited to hear what you have to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke Lee. I'm a senior sustainability manager at Rheaply. If you've not heard of us, Rheaply is a climate tech company focused on bringing circularity to businesses with a platform that combines asset management software with reuse marketplaces to ensure every workplace item finds its next best use. That's a tongue twister. In my role, I spend a lot of time, and I mean in my sleep amount of time, thinking about what it would mean if collectively we all changed the way we think about surplus. When you hear the word surplus, what do you think? If I were to take a poll right now, which I'm not going to, I'm sure we would see responses like extra, unwanted, unneeded, something I have to figure out how to get rid of. A couple of years ago, I re-sided my house, and as many of us do, except at least me, when we're DIYing our house projects, we ordered too much and had a bunch of surplus siding panels. I didn't want to throw it away, so it sat in my garage for a while. It was unused, unneeded, definitely unwanted by us at least, and it just sat there collecting dust and taking up space. What if, instead of thinking of surplus in this way, we thought of it as an opportunity? This is how our company, and hopefully yours after this webinar, thinks about surplus because of reuse. See, me as a singular person, a consumer, I was able to find a new home for those siding panels. I used a local reuse marketplace. A person who ordered too little of the siding I had too much of bought that surplus from me. I made back some money. I got it out of my garage. They saved their own money and time. I didn't even have to leave my house. We both won for businesses. It's not so easy. The missing piece to flip the script on surplus is a commercial, easy to use, easy to access reuse marketplace built specifically for businesses. Reuse through a marketplace opens up that opportunity. Your business can save money by not buying brand new or selling off your own surplus assets and recouping that sunk cost. You can save time by procuring locally versus buying from traditional procurement sources. Instead of shipping 30 brand new chairs across the globe, that requires an 8-week lead time. I know we all, put things in our cart when we're trying to source for a project and we see, okay, this isn't going to get here until June of 2026. You might find equally as nice, basically new chairs right next door, available tomorrow for the same space for like half the cost. And of course, you can support your community ESG goals by refusing to send your surplus to landfill and instead keeping it in use, cutting down on the need to create new carbon emissions, and keeping your landfills clear of still useful material. So with all of that established, let's get into a story. I always like to begin presentations with a real life story when I can. You guys already got one, so I guess you're getting two today. This is a story about a massive global investment banking firm in NYC. They have more than 48,000 employees and offices in more than 60 cities across the globe. And they were moving out of a couple floors of one of their NYC offices. And in that move, they identified more than 1,600 high quality leather office chairs that were now surplus and unneeded. They had purchased them in 2009. The conditions of the chairs varied. And yeah, so this was their first challenge. Hundreds upon hundreds of still usable chairs, but the bank no longer needed them. They didn't have any place to keep them. Then enter stage left, the second challenge or opportunity. We'll get to that later. This company had some major sustainability and ESG goals and commitments that leadership wanted to prioritize. And that meant throwing the chairs away was not an option. Oftentimes, this is definitely the easiest solution in a situation like this, where you need to clear out a space on a tight deadline. You don't have anywhere to store it in the meantime. But the toss it option wasn't on the table. They weren't open to it. So these two facts created a unique opportunity to think about this surplus in a different way. What if they used a circular, sustainable decommissioning approach to find new homes for all of the chairs? They partnered with Rheaply to do just that. We activated our network of furniture remanufacturer or repair partners, distributors, local small businesses, and nonprofits to get all of the chairs in beautiful working condition and find them their next home. So as a result of this investment banking firm and the organizations who received their donations made an enormous impact on the local environment and the local economy. The chairs were valued at more than $96,000, which represents a huge savings and impact for the organizations that received them. We were also able to divert almost 70,000 pounds of materials from the local NYC landfills by finding homes for these new chairs instead of throwing them away. The organizations that received these chairs, this meant a total of almost 50,000 kilograms of embodied carbon emissions avoided, or in other words, by reusing these chairs that already existed instead of buying new, they avoided adding nearly 50,000 kilograms of carbon into the atmosphere. And I'm particularly proud to share that we actually found 100% of the chairs, or we found homes for 100% of the chairs from this project, and not a single chair ended up in landfill. So this project gave us perspective. If this is the impact from one project, from one company, in one location, what if we could amplify this across an entire city? And thinking even bigger, an entire state, the entire country, the entire world. We want to make this type of success accessible for any business who thinks of surplus as an opportunity. A singular hub for workplace resources that makes reuse easier than just throwing it away. In September, we launched the NYC Reuse Marketplace, sponsored by Google, to facilitate these kind of connections between businesses and nonprofits of all shapes and sizes locally in the NYC tri-state area. This marketplace is free to join for any business locally, and it's an important step to help NYC reach its carbon neutrality goals by 2050. And we're not just stopping in NYC. This effort is catching on in cities across the country. We currently have organizations on platform in 35 different states. We have 50 states, that's crazy. With more signups coming in every day and new cities launching every few weeks. This is an easy entry point into reuse and circularity at the local level, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. You can actually sign up and join at rheaply.com/cities. We can't wait to see how your business can impact your community through seizing the opportunity of surplus. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. That was great. It's really exciting to see the work that Rheaply is doing on a city and beyond scale. I'm really looking forward to continuing that evolution. And now to continue to hear about all of these exciting offerings on city municipality level, I'm going to turn things over to Kate, who's going to dive in a little bit closer on some more specific examples. So Kate, feel free to introduce yourself and then take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Celeste. And oh my goodness, thank you so much, Brooke. I love the New York focus of this webinar. I know it's nationally, internationally, but I get so excited to hear about surplus. And I think what Brooke said about opportunity really resonates with the work that we're doing with the Center for Sustainable Materials Management here in New York. So hi, everybody. My name is Kate Walker. Like Celeste said, I'm the Executive Director for the Center for Sustainable Materials Management. We are located on in Syracuse University, or Syracuse, New York, which is in central New York, and are located at SUNY ESF, which is Environmental Science and Forestry University, one of the oldest environmental studies focus majors in New York State, or in the nation. So really excited to be here today. Celeste, can you just confirm that my slides are moving? They don't seem to be moving on my...
It's still the first slide right
now. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. It looks like it's advancing. Thank you. So here in New York in 2019, with funding through the Department of Environmental Conservation that is funded about $7 million to focus on our mission to collectively challenge the concept of waste here in New York State. So what that means is to redefine and reimagine how we procure, produce, consume, and manage and market materials here in New York. And really with the opportunity, recognizing that there was a challenge with recycling markets nationally, really see ourselves as conveners and collaborators to meet people where they are and move the needle when it comes to a more environmentally just society. We are supporting about 35 individuals across the state in academia, but also for research and also programmatically. Our PI, our principal investigator, is Mark Lichtenstein at SUNY ESF. If you want to learn more about our center, we just launched a mini documentary. It'll be linked here. There's plenty of information there about our center, and we're happy to share and hope you'll reach out. So as Celeste said, we're going to talk a little bit first about the True partnership that we formed starting in 2022, and recognizing that as Celeste referenced, True is really focused on administering a zero waste program, and we have shared values in looking at redefining materials management, and also reimagining the take, make, waste economy across all industries. So the center had focused a lot in the public and providing support to municipalities. And we recognized that there was a huge opportunity to work with commercial businesses in New York State. And True really came with that expertise. As she referenced, they're focused under or are administered through USGBC and GBCI, and are internationally recognized through the Zero Waste International Alliance. What True provides is an independent and third-party review for companies that prioritizes the highest and best use of the materials, also emphasizing a closed loop or circular system. And what we love is in meeting companies where they're at, really trying to engage those companies across the entire organization, and supporting the company, whether it be a small or medium size or large organization. So in this partnership, we definitely wanted to design and support companies looking at their entire system. The program, which we put out a call at the beginning of 2023 to companies across New York State to participate. We had a number of really, really incredible organizations and companies that came to us. I'll announce the folks that we did support in this first year, but we are able to provide them financial assistance. So we cover some of the costs of the True certification. But the most important piece is that technical assistance and guidance that we're walking companies through, which, as we know, for small or medium-sized companies, may not have a sustainability director or somebody on staff that can do this work for them. So it's really wonderful in that our staff is able to kind of walk them through this with the support of course, the True advisors. In the industry, we recognize, looking beyond the public sector, as we said, we're able to provide this technical assistance, looking for innovation and collaboration, so across New York State, but also nationally. So utilizing great companies like Rheaply and other data management companies in software and technology to meet these companies with innovation and be able to manage their waste systems where they are, recognizing that the goal is to save these companies money, of course, to reduce environmental impact, but in many of these cases, we know that we're going to be saving companies money in the long term. There's a lot of opportunity here in New York State with 515,000 commercial businesses registered. We recognize we had a lot of opportunity. I fit in with our state goals. In New York State, we have the most aggressive climate policy with CLCPA, the Climate and Leadership Protection and Community Act, which has a goal of 40% reduction by per the 1990 levels for greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. So we're looking at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, of course, through reducing waste generation and resource consumption. The project partners, so I'm happy to announce the 6 companies that we are partnering with in New York State. You'll see 2 of them are looking for pre-certification, and 4 of them looking for full certification. I'll explain what that means in the next slide, but really happy to see companies throughout New York State. 3 of these companies are in the New York City area, but 2 up in New York's in the Finger Lakes area, and 1 in Long Island. The goals, and you can find more out on True's website, but the goal for this is 90% diversion, 10% contamination, below 10% contamination for all materials streams. And a requirement of this program is to have a zero policy in place. Some of the companies that we're meeting do not have that yet, and some of them do. And of course, we want to comply with the local and state federal policies. Here you'll see kind of how those companies within the True certification, which items are weighted. In order to get the True certification, you need 81 credits. You'll see the reliance here, the importance of reuse, zero waste purchasing, and that leadership and training is so critical to True certification. To reach the gold and platinum levels, you can see that they're outlined here. Our goal for those 4 companies is to get them to full certification and reaching those gold and platinum credit levels. So what's ahead? We get this question a lot, and we can't wait to expand this program and the relationship with True. Through the state, we're really trying to focus on the key sectors you can see on this slide, recognizing that these are sectors that have complex waste streams, particularly in agriculture and construction. So really reaching out to those sectors in New York State and meeting them where they are at. We always want to expand our social impact, prioritizing BIPOC and women-owned businesses and women's and businesses that are in EJ and fence line communities. With my last few minutes here, I just wanted to outline another couple of projects that the center is working on as well. In addition to the technical assistance we provide to businesses, we're also doing a statewide needs assessment for the recycling system. We're really excited to do this work, just like when we're meeting companies where they're at and understanding their waste data. We need to do so for New York State. There's some gaps and recognizing that we need to really understand the quantity of our waste streams before we can go into and support and move forward policies like paper and packaging EPR for the state. So we're really excited to be, we've launched that project. Our initial report will be out early next year. And we also have, for folks that want to see where their materials are flowing to and where they're ending up, we're going to launch very soon a New York State end market and material flow map on our website that will be out probably by next month. So if you're interested in where our materials are going, this is a great resource that we'll have available. If you have questions on recycling, we partner with Syracuse University Center for Sustainable Community Solutions. They have an incredible outreach and engagement program with us in collaboration, and you can check out more at recyclerightnewyork.org. And lastly, because of the way that we promoted this, I just really wanted to outline some of the research that we're doing on campus, specifically when we're looking upstream and creating materials that are going to be more recyclable and more biodegradable. We do have an incredible research team that is looking to develop more biodegradable, renewable plastics that are made from fibers and fines that would have ended up in the landfill. So you can see there in the picture the waste fibers from a local West Rock facility that we're utilizing to make more biodegradable material. So happy to explain more or answer any questions. And that, I think, is the end of my slide. Thank you so much, Celeste and team.
Thank you, Kate, for all of these amazing slides and information that you shared. It's just so incredible to see all the work that your team is doing, and just to see how New York has like one of, if not the first of these types of, statewide funded programs to really dive into waste and materials management. And, I think we've seen how public funding has really helped to grow a lot of other sustainability solutions, like in energy efficiency world and things like that. So I'm really excited how New York is really a model for that type of opportunity. And we really hope we start to see that, like Brooke was saying, not just statewide, but maybe countrywide as well. So, all right. And now to dive into the specifics of, I think, a project that is doing just incredible work in zero waste at kind of a more public city level. I'm going to turn things over to Jasmine. Jasmine, if you want to introduce yourself and the work that you're doing, we're super excited to hear about Battery Park City Authority.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Celeste. Okay. So sharing my screen. So hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jasmine Johnson, and I'm a project manager at Battery Park City Authority. And I'm excited to speak with you about BPCA's sustainability goals and ongoing zero waste initiative. Battery Park City is a 92-acre site that is a balance of commercial, residential, retail, and park space. Battery Park City Authority, or BPCA, was established in 1968 and is a New York State public benefit corporation charged with developing and maintaining a balanced community on Manhattan's Lower West Side. Since its inception, the parks and open spaces have been designed with environmental quality as a priority. Through our sustainability plan, new green guidelines, and implementation plan, BPCA is committed to more precisely define, enhance, and measure its sustainability objectives and achievements. Our sustainability plan provides a detailed roadmap for sustainability goals from 2020 to 2030. The plan's actions are organized into 4 topic areas: energy, water, waste, and site. Our plan provides detailed actions such as educating the community on waste patterns and ways to reduce and divert the waste, and creating partnerships with vendors that place sustainability as a priority. For our zero waste goals, we created our Zero Waste Initiative in 2019, and to date, we've achieved success not only in meeting our goals, but by achieving a true gold certification for our 75 battery place facility, which houses our parks operations and parks programming and community operations departments. A major priority of our initiative was to focus on behavioral changes. Achieving our zero waste goals has been the result of all the little actions coming together. By focusing on behavior and culture within the staff, how they use the waste streams, how they would respond to change, this helped pave the way on how to communicate our zero waste goals. So first, we created a zero waste advisory committee who was initially charged with determining our goals and our path to success. The committee was made up of various employees within the organization, which brought about different perspectives and engaged both staff and management. On Earth Day 2019, we officially launched our Zero Waste Initiative on what we called our Zero Waste Pledge Day. Here, the committee asked staff to pledge to BPCA's zero waste goal, and in exchange, presented them with a success kit, which was a reusable tote with reusable ware such as metal silverware, a thermos, water bottle, and straw. By the end of our pledge day, we acquired more than 100 pledges from staff members. The committee members also used this time to talk with staff about what our goals were, what zero waste means, and answer any questions they may have had. So how did we do this? It was through constant education, staff engagement, following through, keeping staff informed, and asking for feedback. By taking incremental steps and engaging staff when introducing changes, we were able to secure support throughout the organization. We knew that there could not be lasting change without staff support. A key component to staying on top of our waste diversion progress was through conducting regular waste audits within the building. This information was a huge help in seeing where there were opportunities for improvement and where we were succeeding. The data we collected and continue to collect has been critical to reaching our goals. There's no substitute for auditing waste streams, and it's a practice that we continue to this day. Once we completed a few waste audits, we had a better idea of how materials were being used and discarded. Since our waste collection is all handled in-house, we really had an opportunity to analyze what was going on and make precise recommendations. One of the first actions we took in response to these audits was to redesign our waste stream signage throughout the building. In addition, we removed landfill cans from individual offices and reorganized them into communal waste areas. Everything became about how we could reduce and divert waste. It seemed like for a year, zero waste was all we talked about. We've had a variety of staff engagement opportunities, such as our seed paper making program, where we make recycled paper from outdated parks programming calendars and mix in seeds from our gardens. Or our BPCA University events, where staff get an opportunity to learn about other departments and their job responsibilities. Here's staff from a mix of departments, and they're learning about our composting program. Another creative waste solution was to reuse garden debris and wood from our carpenters to create native bee hotels. We also take opportunities to engage with the public and table about our various sustainability-related programs at our parks programming events. Building on this momentum, our current zero waste goal is to achieve another true certification for our open spaces and operations. This goal has been challenging, and it requires those who live, work, and visit BPC to change their behavior. We continue to work towards this goal by performing waste audits, engaging the public when possible, adjusting locations of landfill receptacles, and adding compost and recycling bins. In achieving this next zero waste goal, we once again worked on educating staff on how they can bring what they've learned about zero waste into their daily work. We talked about the zero waste hierarchy as a way of mentally going through processes about reducing waste. Some examples that I'd really like to highlight were we updated our procurement guidelines to encourage reduction of waste and green purchasing items. We went paperless where we could. For example, we went digital for board meetings and for approval in our finance, procurement, and HR departments. And from that, we reduced paper by over 4,600 pounds annually. Our programming department, for example, reuses old packaging boxes, toilet paper cores, and egg cartons for future programs. Our trade staff reuse items such as carriage bolts for our park benches. And as a more recent success, in one of our waste audits, we identified nitrile gloves, which are an essential item, as a big landfill waste stream. And after doing some research, we found a vendor that can upcycle these nitrile gloves into decking, thereby diverting it from landfill. In pursuing our newest zero waste goals, we perform multiple park-wide waste audits throughout the year. For these larger waste audits, we collect a day's worth of park and street trash from landfill and recycling cans, sort through and categorize each bag, and then weigh everything. All of this work and data collection is handled in-house by our staff. An example of what some of the sorting looks like from a waste audit, on the left are all the coffee cups from a day's worth of trash, and on the right is all dog waste. It's constant monitoring of what we're collecting, and that's something that's consistently a part of our staff's daily routines. Sharing some of the results from earlier audits, these graphs show a breakdown of a single day worth of trash within a landfill can. In the beginning, what we found inside a landfill can was really a mix of everything from recyclables, compost, and paper. So realizing that a lot of our recyclables were ending up in our landfill, we rolled out about 100 new recycling cans into the park just this past April. The graph on the right shows our most recent audit after these changes, where over 50% of what was in a landfill can was landfill, meaning that there were less recyclables in our landfill cans and most of what was ending up in them actually belonged there. This showed us that people were using the new recycling cans. And our goal, of course, is for 100% of what we find in our landfill receptacles to be meant for landfill, but it's important to highlight the wins along the way. As a wrap up, I want to take a minute to highlight some of the other sustainability programs we have. BPCA has been composting since the early 90s, starting from collecting a few hundred pounds annually to now over 75,000 pounds a year. Food waste is collected and processed in-house daily in an indoor composting system. Keeping this a closed-loop system, the compost carbon feedstock is collected from the park's garden plant debris. These plant cuttings, tree branches, and leaves are composted and chipped in an outdoor space, which composts about 30 tons a year. We also produce our own compost tea from this, which we use on our street trees and lawns each spring and fall. We also have a long-standing holiday tree composting program where residents can drop off their old trees to be chipped and used as mulch within the park. Each year, we collect and recycle through compost or mulching an average of about 1,200 trees. And in 2022, we started a pumpkin drop-off composting program. So in September of 2019, we launched a dog waste composting pilot program in each of our park's 3 dog runs. This was overseen by our dog waste team, and dog waste is collected and processed daily by staff. The waste is mixed with wood chips from our garden debris and stored in these earth cubes. So it's a separate composting system from our food waste composting program. In each of these dog runs, we provide owners with scoopers, newspaper, and a collection bin for them to pick up their dog waste. The newspaper is taken from local residential buildings rather than being thrown out. By composting dog waste, BPCA is leading the way to find innovative solutions to a common issue. We're sharing our findings with other city and state institutions, and most recently with New York State's DEC. We have so far had 2 successful applications of dog waste compost since the program began. So overall, when beginning our zero waste initiative, we found that focusing on behavioral changes allowed us to build a strong foundation for our zero waste initiative. From there, the small actions of employee engagement sparked ideas, which have led to our success in achieving our goals for our True Zero Waste certification. We're fortunate enough that many of these functions are handled in-house, so we really had an opportunity to comb through everything. We're grateful for the innovation of the whole staff, and it's really thanks to them that we're able to keep creating these bigger and bigger goals. And continuing forward with our current zero waste goals, we're working on using all of these programs and lessons learned to tackle the challenge of public waste and parks waste streams. So thank you, everyone. You can learn more about us and our sustainability efforts and goals by checking out our website. There's a link here to our YouTube page, which has a virtual sustainability tour. And feel free to follow us on our socials or reach out with any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. That was amazing. Kudos to all the incredible work that your team is doing and engaging the public. This is not easy work, especially in a place like New York City. So it's really, yeah, it's like extra commendable, everything that you're doing. So I think we've got a lot of applause happening from the audience. I think if the panelists actually want to go ahead and turn your cameras on, and we have some time for Q&A. We actually have some really good questions that came through. So there are some questions that are specifically geared for each of the panelists, but I kind of just want to maybe kind of like we did with the presentation, start a little bit broader and then maybe drill down to some of the specifics, because I'd love to get kind of a little bit of a discussion going around some of these questions. I think this first one was really more probably specifically geared towards Jasmine, but I do really think Brooke and Kate and maybe even myself might have some really interesting feedback here. But basically the question is around whether or not like how your facilities and maintenance department has handled education, but really, on a broader level, this would apply to the work that Rheaply is doing. I think this definitely applies to the work happening at ESF and Recycle Right, and like how you're able to sort of manage that education. And then if you get pushback or resistance from individuals that are maybe worried about workload, or even maybe more interesting, the people that are sort of the naysayers and feel like, oh, recycling isn't working, why bother? This really isn't worthwhile. It all is just going to end up in the trash. So maybe Jasmine, if you want to kick things off, and then Brooke and Kate, I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on that as well.
For sure. So I guess specifically focusing, we kind of keep our internal, so with our staff education, a little bit different than with the public. So I guess based on that question, focus mainly on internal. I think the most important thing for us in the beginning was kind of securing what we were calling our zero waste champions, but essentially that core group of staff members who were interested, had ideas, and wanted to participate. And that's kind of was the basis for that zero waste committee that we created. And over time, that's kind of evolved of now that committee is more in charge of that internal education, which takes many different forms. And a lot of that is based off of feedback. So it's those dedicated staff members who will specifically be like, okay, now it's time, maybe let's have a presentation to engage all of our different staff members, or just taking the time to talk to people. And once identifying that core group of people, that's really who's going to, I think, carry the success of the Zero Waste Initiative. Because, of course, you're not going to get everybody to be on board 100%. And two of the other biggest things for us was going slowly with any kind of changes and being transparent. So any incremental changes, such as changing our signage, it just taking that time to get feedback at every little step, which can take a while, but I think that really solidifies your base and really engages staff so that they don't feel like they're being forced or dragged along on this new initiative. So I guess, yeah, to kind of sum it up, I don't want to take up all the time. That for us was the most successful we found.
Yeah, and Kate or Brooke, if you want to talk about internal or external stakeholders, I think that's great.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's and Jasmine hit all the points really well of moving at at a rate that works for the audience, being transparent and clear to folks, and meeting them where they're at. Those are critical in our program. So I'll speak really quickly to because some of the work that we're doing, we pilot at our university. So within the university system, we have an effort, green procurement effort that's happening right now. And one of the things that when we rolled out a new policy, which we did 2 years ago, the policy piece is huge. You have to have something in place. And even as we referenced with the True program, you need to be able to roll that policy out. But engaging and being transparent and getting that, another thing that Jasmine said, that feedback loop. So in not only launching that policy, but then when you're going to implement, having that feedback loop to hear what your, whether it be staff or colleagues' concerns are, the folks that are actually in the green procurement example, the folks that are actually going to be doing this work and implementing it, what are their major concerns with that? My colleague at ESF, Sue Fassler, always talks about, customer service is our job, right? So coming at this and understanding where folks are is so important. And then the second piece, I think, in our larger programs and when we're doing messaging to the public, again, it's making it very accessible. And the lessons that we have learned, again, are seeing that there's concerns across the board, or those making the messaging easy and accessible, but also, again, it's kind of the same piece of being transparent. So in our messaging, specifically with recycling and with under Recycle Right New York, is being honest about, yes, the recycling system right now is it's tough, and there's material that is going to landfill. There is material that is not going to end up in your recycling bin, which is why it's really important to understand what to recycle right and why you need to know this information. So I think treating the general public with the truth, meeting them with the truth, is really important. So on our national level or the statewide level with messaging, again, it's that transparency that's key. Could go on for another 20 minutes about all of that. Great question. Brooke?
Yeah, oh my gosh, you guys touched on so much of it, so I'll try and be so light. But I think, like, you mentioned it, Kate, meeting people where they are is so important. You're not going to push a narrative on someone if you're light years ahead of them. So I think figuring out how we can help them where they are is always important. And we also try and optimize, whether Rheaply can help, because we're talking to businesses, right? It's not necessarily individual people. It's more the business side. And so offering support in any way we can to really help them facilitate transactions or get things on platform, those types of things where they know that they're a little bit stretched for capacity or bandwidth. Offering hands-on is always helpful to make them feel like the burden isn't always on them. And then just definitely the education piece of just showing them other reasons outside of just being sustainable, why it's helpful for your community, for your business, and those types of things.
Yeah, I love that. I think everyone, really touched on some important points. I always think it's such a twofold equation, because on one hand, obviously focusing on these systems that reduce and reuse and focus on the upstream solutions is super, super important. And at the same time, it's also really good for the general public, employees, everyone kind of has to participate in the existing recycling infrastructure, because that's also a piece of the equation. And it really does make a big difference, especially for these companies that have made large commitments with consumer packaged goods. They need that feedstock to be able to funnel into it, to be able to make good on those commitments, and to just kind of be one of the aspects of the circular economy. So yeah, I love everything that you all said. There was a question about jobs that I think is kind of interesting, and kind of what sort of jobs are out there for professionals that are passionate about zero waste and waste diversion. And I'd love to get all of your thoughts on that. I also think it would maybe be cool to just touch on how each of you just very briefly got into this role, because I think we all have pretty unique types of roles within this world. And I know I'll just speak for myself. I'm an architect by training, and I was been working in sustainability for the building industry for many years before recycling was even on my radar. And for me, I just think now, having been kind of working within materials management for the last 10 years, I've seen so much growth happen within the job sector for them. And I think a lot of it is like the awareness and growth of people that are just like working in the circular economy in general. But I'd just love to hear from each of you, maybe how you got into this role, and then if you have any kind of like particular thoughts on like really great job opportunities that might be engaging for folks in the audience. Anyone can start. We can go in reverse. Brooke, you can start.
Yeah, absolutely. I can start. So I got my start in sustainability because my background is in tech, and I also was working for the government, and because Rheaply, has some other government clients and customers, and we care about our interactions with the government entities. I kind of got my start here. So I think like my advice to people wanting to go into a sustainability role is just being open to like kind of be bootstrappy and like figure out how to find solutions. Sustainability is like such a growing type of world, and circularity is growing. And so I think if you're able to just get in and work in uncertainty a little bit, then we're happy to take you in with open arms, and open to learn. I think from like a job perspective, when we think about circular economy, there's so much job potential here, and there's a lot of job creation potential as well. There's a lot of waste streams where I find myself thinking, oh my gosh, like this would be such a good idea, but there might not be someone doing that, or no one knows that they're doing it. So there is a lot of potential there. It's just like figuring out, okay, what needs a home or what needs a next use, and then figuring it out. And also from like a Rheaply perspective, we always are hiring. So there's that.
I love that, Brooke. So just how I came into sustainability, I had a light bulb moment in the Adirondacks when I was 17 years old and knew I was going to find a way to protect the environment. But there was no sustainability degree at that point. So I'm a rabble rouser and an advocate at heart, and grew up in a fairly political household. So I came at it from advocacy first, found my way into the nonprofit sector, and had to build most of my jobs within those sectors by seeking funding and really understanding. For me, it was right as I became a mother. I have teenagers now, but again, it was that for me, the place was, how do people not know that these materials are toxic and not healthy, and we need to move away from these things? So I think, to Brooke's point, it's like just find the thing that you keep coming back to. That's the challenge. And then whether it be in the public or private sector, wherever you find that thing that you're passionate about, there's so many ways to access those types of jobs now. At ESF, of course, I'll just promote us. We not only have incredible degrees and education there, but there's also a lot of opportunities to work for ESF and for the center, but also within government. We see an expansion for our colleagues. At DEC, there's always availability there, and it's a tough place. A lot of people I want to be in the private sector, which I understand, but you make a huge impact both in academia as well as at DEC. So I'll leave it there. Jasmine?
Yeah, thank you, Kate. I kind of on that, I do work for a state authority. Our park is under the state, and kind of at that, there's constant opportunities in terms of jobs, whether it's with different authorities or agencies. For me, my background is in horticulture, so I was always kind of involved in plants, and I moved to New York and I was very interested in sustainable parks, and that's just kind of how I got started, even though the language wasn't there yet. And I was fortunate enough to be managing the composting program here for a while. And now, as a project manager, I'm able to implement these sustainable projects. And that's just kind of come, kind of as Kate said, as things are growing and evolving, and there is more conversation now on the need for sustainability initiatives. So I think even as you're looking for jobs or you're going out, if a job title might not specifically say sustainability, it can still be utilized to achieve those projects, whether you're an analyst or a project manager.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a really good point, Jasmine. And yeah, there's going to be a point where, sustainability just kind of needs to be baked into everyone's job. And so I think finding what piece of sustainability, whether it's recycling, whether it's green buildings, whether it's, you know, the sort of like interface with the public, what piece of it really hits you, and then kind of finding ways to optimize on that. There's also been some really good suggestions shared in the chat with different job hiring opportunities and kind of like local organizations. So I would check that out as well. Okay. Like, ooh, do we have time for like 2 more questions? Okay, let's try for 2 more questions. So let's try and do them quick. This was directed towards Kate. Again, I feel like maybe others might have some feedback as well. But there was a question on diverting construction and demolition waste. That's obviously a really big sector of the waste stream. And so any resources on that, I'll just give a quick plug that True also does have a construction focused program that you can look at. But I want to also hear everyone else's thoughts as well.
Yeah, I would definitely direct to True. But like any sustainability project, so I'm assuming that you're kind of the project manager here, but with any, you know, whether you're a consultant working on a company or we want to kind of advise others, it's about planning ahead, right? So, you know, making and understanding what the materials will be that you're going to have. So, you know, measuring those materials, really preparing a site, right? So knowing what is going to be taken down, looking at what can be reused and recycled, and having and identifying those materials ahead of time so that you can provide training to the workers to understand, okay, this is going to be reused, this is going to be recycled, and making sure that you have effectively, you know, labeled everything and that the actual site is organized. Deconstruction is on the rise. So depending on where you are in the nation, if you happen to be in Portland and San Antonio, you have policies related to deconstruction now. So opting for deconstruction is always going to be great. But if that's not an opportunity yet for you, that reuse and donation of materials that are in good condition can still happen. Again, making sure that you understand and do the research ahead of time. So I'll keep it quick at that. I know others probably want to speak, but definitely there's other resources that we can share in the chat as well.
Yeah, Brooke, I'd love to hear how that connects with Rheaply.
Yeah, construction and demolition. It's such an interesting sector. And I love the True Certification swing on things from Kate. I think like what we aim to do at Rheaply is try and help there be visibility. So like we try and allow for exchange of building materials on platform, and the issues that we come in terms of like logistics or barriers for like storage for reuse and being able to actually package it so someone can pick it up or take it out of a building if it's deconstruction, or actually be usable from like a surplus perspective, and transactability. Like there's so many things that you have to think about when you think about building material reuse. And so that is something that we're working in with different projects across the US, honestly, to really tackle what that end-to-end project looks like for organizations to reuse building materials, whether it's from like FF&E fixtures or actual building materials that make up the building. And then like, how do you source materials that are sustainable, reused, reclaimed to put back into buildings? There's a lot of barriers there, and it's a new motion, and like everyone's trying to figure it out. And so I love the other thing I love about building materials. Sorry, I'm taking way too long, but like the built environment professionals, everyone is just happy to help each other to figure things out. Like it's such a good community because they all care. We all care. So yeah, I think it's moving forward in a really great way. And anyone that has resources for breaking down those barriers, we're always here to listen.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And I also know that there's some cool like building reuse conferences coming up in 2024. So kind of keep an eye on those as well. And I agree, like everyone that works in this world, we're pretty much all doing it because we see it as like a really important value in the world and society and the environment. And so there's a lot of collaboration in this space, and it's really special. Okay, last question is a fun one because today is Halloween, obviously, and then from here, basically until the end of the year, we're going into the holiday season. So, does anyone have any really great zero waste holiday tips, either for Halloween, for Thanksgiving, for whatever holiday you participate in that you want to share? And then I would also encourage our participants to drop any of those ideas into the chat as well. Does anyone want to start?
I have one. If you source a real Christmas tree, which everyone can debate about the ethics of Christmas tree farms, but we won't get into that. If you do, typically you can find a program where you can put your Christmas tree, take all the things off of it, obviously, into a body of water because it creates really robust environments for like aquatic life. So it's actually really good for bodies of water to give that ecosystem. So go dump it in a lake when you're done with it.
But maybe not the East River. I don't know if they want those in the East River.
I guess for me, I'm all about compost. It's my bread and butter. So with the holidays coming and all this excess food, if you're able to compost your food, do so. Or if not, sending goodie bags to friends and families and neighbors is always a way to get rid of excess food.
Yes, and if we're talking holidays, let's just not have use the wrapping and use something reusable. Put it in a bag, reuse the bag. Let's think about reducing packaging and waste all across the board. And side note, I don't get a fresh tree. I did buy a plastic Christmas tree, but I reuse it over and over again. So it's debatable. It's hard to let go of the fresh tree. But another good friend and colleague actually just replants. He buys potted Christmas tree and replants them every year. So that's another option.
So many good suggestions. And I would just say, Jasmine, I thought you were going to say this one, but I'm going to say it for you. Participate in the pumpkin collection program at Battery Park City Authority, or wherever you are. I would look into whether or not there's like something like the pumpkin smash or some other sort of collection program if you don't have the ability to like compost your pumpkins, or if you want to mulch your tree, if you don't want to put it in a body of water, what have you. There's lots of different opportunities out there to find kind of a next phase of life for these materials that we associate with being part of the holidays. So I would look into it, check it out. Thank you, everyone. This was so amazing. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. This was such a great panel. So many good questions. There were a few that we didn't get to answer, so we'll make sure to collect those and then get those out to the panelists. And if you had a specific question, we'll make sure that you get connected and we'll get those answered for you and send them out. We did record this, and so we will, I believe, be sending out the recording and hopefully also some, if not all, the slides. We'll confirm that in the next day or so, and we'll send out some follow-up to everyone that registered. So thank you to our amazing panel. Really appreciate all of your wisdom and examples. And this was just so fun to put together. I hope everyone goes and has a wonderful Halloween and a really great rest of the season. Take care. Be in touch.